The World Cup is here, and with great football comes great controversy.
Just like in the England versus Iran match.
And today we have a special guest.
So, let's talk about concussion.
In England's recent World Cup match against Iran, Iranian goalkeeper Alireza Bayramvand went to the floor following a nasty-looking head injury, where he clashed heads with a teammate, leading him to have a bloody and possibly broken nose. Now, he received treatment on the pitch from the medical team, and the medical team were able to stop the bleeding. Now, even though concussion protocol dictates that serious blows to the head should lead to immediate withdrawal of said player, after several minutes, Bayramvand got back to his feet and the game was restarted. However, he was clearly dazed and very likely concussed, leading him to signal to the sidelines that he had to come off, and he was subsequently taken off the pitch on a stretcher.
A concussion is a traumatic brain injury caused by a blow or jolt to the head. It can also be caused by a hit to the body, which causes the brain and the head to move rapidly back and forwards. Now, it's important to mention that a concussion isn't a structural injury. In fact, it's a functional one. And because the brain is such a delicate structure, it can take years to recover. Now, a common misconception is that in order to have a concussion, the athlete has to lose consciousness. However, that's not the case. In fact, only 10% of athletes actually lose consciousness. Let's have a look at what happens to the brain. As you can see, the forward displacement causes the brain to hit itself against the skull. This causes damage to the cells and leads to a chemical imbalance. Now, as the brain returns back, it once again hits itself against the skull, leading to further damage. Now, I also want to mention that this chemical imbalance makes the brain more sensitive to further injuries, so it's important to allow the brain to recover. Now, other types of traumatic brain injuries include penetrating injuries, such as when a bullet goes through the brain, anoxic injuries, such as when the oxygen supply to the brain is reduced, and finally, brain contusions, which is a bruising of the brain.
So what kind of things do we look for when someone's got a concussion, like a player on a pitch? Well, usually they can't remember events before their impact or after. So obviously the memory is impaired. And then again, they also might forget simple details, such as who they're playing that day, what the score is, what stadium they're playing in. But then also we're looking for if their movements are slowed, or if their speech is slowed as well, and if they're moving clumsily as well. Because those things could obviously indicate impaired brain function due to the concussion. But people that have concussion in general life may complain of things such as headache, dizziness, balance problems, maybe even nausea and even vomiting in extreme cases. But also more niche symptoms such as photophobia, which where someone's bothered by light, or even being bothered by loud noise as well. With all traumatic brain injuries, it's important to consider what some red flags are for if the situation starts to get worse. So things such as anatochoria, which is difference in pupil size, could also be an indicator that things are much more severe than at first was considered. But also drowsiness, as well as becoming unconscious for long periods of time, can also be very worrying as well. Something as simple as headaches as well, if they get worse, that is, over long periods of time, could also be indicators that something more sinister is going on. But also repeated vomiting, convulsions, and even seizures can occur if a concussion is that bad. Now, this is all related to brain function declining and abnormal electric impulses in the brain.
FIFA estimates that head injury occurs in professional football in maybe once in every 3 games. Because of this, it's really important that there's a prompt and effective investigation of said head injuries so that any potential cases of concussion can be identified and dealt with appropriately. A tool that's been identified by FIFA and the FA is the SCAP5 tool, and this is used to diagnose and assess potential concussions. One of the most important parts of the SCAP5 test is Maddox questions, and this assesses a patient's or player's mental capacity. It involves questions such as where are we playing, what half is it, what was the score last week in the game, who do you play for, and who do we play last week. So it assesses a patient's acute mental status and also incorporates their memory as well. The most notable thing to mention about the SCAP5 tool is that it takes 10 minutes to complete. This means that there's some controversy about whether it's suitable to assess a player's function in a high-level sporting game, because is there 10 minutes available and does the player need to be removed from the field of play to do this?
Now, eventually, there can be a gradual return to play for the athlete. Although in the 24-hour period following the incident, there should be close monitoring of the player, followed by re-evaluation before they can return to play. Looking more generally, the treatment of concussion consists of rest and monitoring while keeping a keen eye out for more serious potential red flags. Now, there can be long-standing effects of concussion, especially after repetitive concussions or traumatic brain injuries, namely a disease called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Now, this is a progressive and eventually fatal neurodegenerative disease that initially causes issues in mood and behaviour, followed by issues with cognition and memory.
So that concludes our video talking about concussion and brain injury.
We hope you learned something from this video.
This has been GHU Medics.
Thanks for watching.
Very nice.
Are you just gonna hover over Jack?
Yeah.
Some of this, I'm so tired.
That there's effective and prompt investigation of said injuries to suss out.
Eventually fatal neurodegenerative disease that initially causes issues with mood and behaviour, followed by issues with cognition and memory. I'm having issues with cognition and memory right now.